As of writing this, the trailer for the new Garfield movie, starring Chris Pratt, came out around 10 hours ago, so it's very fresh, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, hey, I want to see this movie, but I don't know the lore of Garfield. Well, fret not, dear Garfield enjoyers, for I shall teach you everything you need to know about Garfield from 1978 to 2023. Now, before we can talk about Garfield, we have to talk about the man behind Garfield, Jim Davis. Jim Davis is a cartoonist born in Muncie, Indiana on July 28, 1945, who made several less successful cartoons such as Norm Nat and Tumbleweeds, before the fateful day on June 19, 1978, when he drew a certain orange cat and a tall, thin man named John Arbuckle. And this was it. Garfield was a fat cat who was born in Mama Leona's Italian restaurant, which is where he would learn to love lasagna, breadsticks, pizza, all the Italian food. He was eventually given to a pet shop where John Arbuckle buys him on August 19th, 1978. John was a cartoonist who was very much based off Jim Davis being a cartoonist, and hung out with a lot of cats when he was younger. About 2 months after Garfield's debut, Jim decided to add a new character whose name was Odie, which was actually named after a character in a car commercial Jim had written previously. Odie was a direct opposite of Garfield. Where Garfield was lazy and tired, Odie was loud and active almost all the time. Massive success from there on out, with not much changing besides its art style very steadily. By 1981, Garfield was a household name and made over $15 million in merchandise alone. So to keep up with the growing success of this orange cat, Jim Davis founded Paws Inc. to help publish Garfield comic strips. In 1984, the same year that Paws Inc. was founded, Garfield premieres on TV with his first 24-minute film named Here Comes Garfield. The plot of the special is Garfield accidentally gets Odie captured by the dog catcher. Garfield doesn't care, but slowly realizes how boring his life is without Odie around. He goes to rescue Odie from the pound, but being a cat himself, he gets captured and put into the pound as well. The special takes a really depressing turn when Odie is taken away by the dog catcher to be put down before Garfield escapes to save him, and they all go back home to John's house. In Garfield's big debut, Garfield was voiced by Lorenzic Music and voiced him in almost everything up until his passing in 2001. Greg Berger voiced Odie, who still voices him to this day, and Sandy Kenyon voiced John Arbuckle, who was in Twilight Zone and The Dick Van Dyke Show. The second special premiered in May of 1985 and was called Garfield on the Town, where Garfield gets flung out of John's car downtown, accidentally runs into a gang of cats named the Claws, who hunt him down after Garfield makes fun of them. Garfield finds safety in an old Italian restaurant, which just so happens is where his mom and a lot of his cousins have been living. Eventually, after catching up with his family, the Claws find Garfield and his family's hideout, and there's this big fight in which Garfield's family comes out victorious. Garfield leaves his mom, much to his dismay, before John and Odie finds him. There's genuinely a lot of sweet stuff to come from this special, and it won an Emmy, which was definitely deserved, and not bad for Garfield's second TV special.
And with this family,
Thanks, Mom, for everything.
Skipping ahead about 2 years to December of 1987, the next special to hit the television is a Garfield Christmas. Garfield spends Christmas at John's family's farm. Garfield and Grandma start to bond and share some really cute moments. This whole special is very family-focused, past-focused, and with it nearly being Christmas by the time I hope this comes out, I'd say go watch it for yourself. I'd be here for quite a while if I went through every single Garfield special, so I'm going to go a bit of a lightning round here. Garfield on the Rough is the next special, premiering October 26, 1984. Garfield's Halloween Adventure, October 30th. Garfield in Paradise premieres May 27, 1986. Garfield Goes to Hollywood premieres May 8, 1986. Then, right now, is where the Christmas special would be. Garfield and His 9 Lives, November 22nd, 1988. Garfield Babes and Bullets, May 23rd, 1989. Also has an amazing name. Garfield's Thanksgiving, November 22nd, 1989. Garfield's Feline Fantasies, May 18th, 1990. Garfield Gets a Life, May 8th, 1991. With that all out of the way, we reach 1988, which marks the 10-year anniversary of Garfield, and a little behind-the-scenes video was released to celebrate it.
You'll also see Garfield around the world.
And more expressive, his ears are smaller, his mouth is bigger to allow him to eat more food. Also, his limbs are longer to allow him to reach for pies and to kick Odie. Also, his body is smaller and not in the way so much.
But more importantly, in September of the same year, Garfield finally gets his own TV show named Garfield and Friends.
Friends are there
To help you get started, to give you a push on your way.
Friends are there
To turn you around, get your feet on the ground for a brand new day.
to pick you up when you're down.
Help you swallow your pride when something inside's got to break on through to the other side.
Friends are someone you can open up to
When you feel like you're ready to flip,
when you've got the world on your shoulders.
friends are there to give you a tip.
Friends are there when you need them. They're even there when you don't.
For a walk in the park, or a shot in the dark, friends are there.
I don't care.
But friends will care for you.
So if someone wants you to change the channel, kids, just say no.
Well, unlike the specials, I cannot do a breakdown of every episode. Who knows, maybe one day. But the show ran from September 17th, 1988 to December 10th of 1994. 121 episodes with 7 seasons. Like the title suggests, this was Garfield and Friends. There was Orson Pig, Roy Rooster, Booker, Sheldon, and Wade Duck. All these characters come from another comic strip that Jim Davis made, known as U.S. Acres. Skipping ahead about 3 years, in July of 1991, Garfield releases a music track dubbed Am I Cool or What? Here is, in my opinion, the best songs from the album, ranked worst to best. Long Brought Midnight, Spare Time, Up on a Fence, 9 Lives, Next to You, I'm Even Better, Fat is Where It's At, I Love It When I'm Naughty, Monday Morning Blues, Shake Your Paw, and Here Comes Garfield. 4 years later, Garfield releases a music video called Cool Cat. In December of 1996, the world's first official Garfield website is launched. And as of November 2023, the site is now long gone. But it makes sense, it's been over 2.5 decades ago. And surprisingly, the site was still up until 2020. The site will now just send you to the Garfield section on nick.com. Finally, breaking into the 2000s, Garfield wins a Guinness World Record for most widely syndicated comic strip in the world in 2002, and he still holds that to this day. A year later, Jim Davis published a book named I'm in the Mood for Food, which was a Garfield cookbook. In 2004, it was Garfield's 25th anniversary, so another book was released named In Dog Years I'd Be Dead. And now finally, in June of 2004, we meet one of the biggest milestones so far, the Garfield movie starring Bill Murray. The plot is another Garfield hating Odie, so he kicks Odie out, but slowly realizes how much he loves him, has to go on an adventure to save him. The movie earned $75 million in its United States run and $208 million in its worldwide release, on a $50 million budget. While the movie seemed to do pretty good financially, critically not so much. Currently sitting at 14% on Rotten Tomatoes, but then again, Rotten Tomatoes is Rotten Tomatoes. Despite the negativity, the film got a sequel 2 years later called Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. This sequel is another trope-filled one. If you've seen The Parent Trap from 1998, you've seen this. However, there is double the Garfield in this movie, so in my opinion it's better. This film was also relatively commercially successful, grossing $141 million worldwide. There was 3 more movies that came out after the Bill Murray live-action one. These 3 movies were also all computer-generated, animated, where the Bill Murray ones were live-action. These movies were also the first time we heard Garfield's modern voice since his prior voice actor, Lorenzo Music, passed in 2001. Taking up the mantle is Frank Welker, who voiced Garfield from Get Real and still does to this day. Now, the first of these 3 anime movies was Garfield Gets Real. The plot being Garfield and John are working at a theater in the Toon World, where a projector breaks, opening a gateway into the real world. Garfield and Odie get trapped in the real world, and the people in the Toon World have to fix it before they get stuck in the real world forever, or something like that. I don't know. The second being Garfield Fun Fest. Garfield's reading a book on a frog when the Fun Fest comes up, and since he's already won Fun Fest 29 times, he doesn't care, knowing he will win for the 30th. Odie gives Garfield a map to the frog's house, which he was just reading about in his story, and he finds the frog to do some trials so he can get some funny juice, so he can win the award. But the water spills, he's super sad, because he's not funny without it. But the frog says, "Yes, you are," or something along the lines of that. There's also this plot with Arlene, like Garfield's girlfriend, wife, cat, where she's been dancing with another cat, which turns out to be a robot after Garfield gets in a fight with it. Lots of stuff happens, Garfield wins. The third and final in this trilogy, and yes, it's a trilogy, they all take place in the same world and have a continuity going on. I hate this movie, so I'm just going to read off the synopsis I copy and pasted from Wikipedia. When Garfield and his friends are trying to enjoy barbecue, little do they know that in a very different universe, a battle is being waged. In a comic book world of heroes and villains, Garzuka and his trusted team of superpowered heroes, the Pet Force, must defeat the evil Vetvix, who is turning the inhabitants of the world into mindless zombies, when the Pet Force falls into a trap. That is the plot of that third one. These three movies, in my opinion, suck. I love Garfield with all my heart, as from this video you've seen, but I really don't enjoy these movies. And now jumping to the year 2009, here is another big milestone in my opinion, The Garfield Show. The show ran from November 2nd, 2009 until October 24th, 2016. I remember watching this show consistently throughout 2012, 2017, and it was a genuinely funny and clever show, in my opinion. The show is very weird, but I think it's still one of the best Garfield medias out there. Sadly, I can't compare this to Garfield and Friends, because I never watched it when I was younger. I didn't like how the show looked old. I did the same with The Simpsons. I like to watch the newer ones, because I didn't like the old look to it. But now going back older, Garfield and Friends is genuinely really funny. Now, this is kind of going off of official Garfield stuff, but it'd feel wrong to not include it since it was just so big when it used to be. Garfield. It was an internet genre of messed up images of Garfield. The first picture originates on October 22nd, 2013, which spun into a subreddit called r/I'mSorryJohn, where the main collection is images of kids' cartoons, mostly Garfield, drawn in horrific ways, which led into the Lasagna Cat YouTube channel, which is a whole nother rabbit hole on its own. And finally, skipping all the way to the year 2021, the announcement that Chris Pratt will be voicing Garfield in an upcoming Garfield animated movie. And with the trailer being out 2 years later, I can say I'm excited. I've mostly gone over TV shows and comic strips up to this point, but something I haven't mentioned has been Garfield merchandise. There has been a lot. There's been a lot of video games, lots of video games. And that doesn't even take into account all the video games on the website, which you can't play anymore since it's shut down. And a lot of physical merch, like plushies, shirts, cups, all of which, there's a lot of official, but there's also a scary amount of joke, off-brand Garfield merchandise. And there you have it. That's most of the Garfield everything from 1978 to the current year, 2023. I hope this video comes out before Christmas. It should be. So if so, Merry Christmas to everyone that is watching this. If you're watching this after Christmas, can't really wish you anything. Thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video. Garfield's been a childhood thing of mine for a while now, so I'm glad I could just talk about it. Alright, bye-bye.
There, I said it. Now get out of here.